All right, this is Grandfather. Now it's important to give you a reminder with a few more details. I must insist that you take your personal health and safety into consideration, especially those of you who are responsible for others, and those of you who are interested in spiritual matters such as being taught here in these videos and on the blogs and in the books for that matter. You are responsible, even if it may not be obvious, because you are empowered. You are learning how to do things to help yourself, your friends, your family, and others whom you will never meet. So, I'm speaking to you. It is important to remind people about something that they won't want to hear. I'm not saying you should do it every minute, but from time to time, if the conversation opens up to it, I'm going to suggest you say something. And that's this. It's important to stay out of the water in the oceans. Now, that's all. If they ask you more, then you can go into this. You can quote me or you don't have to. It is not easy to say, but it is true. Because of the creations of human beings who are doing this to serve the needs of all those other human beings who would like and needed electricity, okay? So just think how often you use that. And I'm not saying to stop. I'm just saying don't blame them. They were trying to do something to serve the needs of the people. All right? You have a situation in the oceans which is only going to get worse for the immediate future, and that's radioactivity. There are considerable amounts of radioactivity in Japan pouring into the Pacific Ocean. But this is not the only place radioactivity is coming from. In other parts of the world where there has been nuclear accidents, there is still radiation pouring out into the atmosphere or into the waters. So, there is something you can do. But before I get to that, I want to say why I'm encouraging you to stay out of the waters. It may not be what you think. The sea people, as I like to call them, meaning what you say fish, and other beings that might be classified other ways, crustaceans and so on, but beings who live in the sea. Many of them have the capability to be able to do something about radiation, but not all. Two examples of beings that might be able to do something about radiation are whales and jellyfish, what you call, say, Portuguese men of war especially, but there are others. Whales, however, are so decreased in their number that it is difficult for them to accomplish this task. That is why there's been reports that there are so many, all of a sudden, people noticed, there are so many of these big jellyfish, the round ones with the tendrils hanging down that look so beautiful in the photos. Don't approach them if you can. Avoid it. They are working very hard, you might say overtime, to try to save the waters. They have some capacity. Just because they look different than you does not mean they cannot think. They have some capacity to not only think but do something about radioactivity. It may not be possible for them to save all the oceans all the time, But this is why their numbers have increased so vastly. Also, because you don't hunt them and eat them, there is an advantage in them increasing in numbers. It would be better if the whales could also do their part, but they have to do their part in numbers of beings. All right? It makes a difference the numbers of beings who are doing these things. So, you might think this is primarily a matter for the Pacific Ocean, but as you've noticed, there are no physical barriers. The oceans connect to each other. So it will be the Atlantic and all oceans. All right? And that's the fact. So, stay out of the water if you possibly can. Some beings in the water have been trying to chase you out, not only for your own good, and there's that, since it will eventually cause harm to you, this radioactivity, but also for the good of the sea beings who are trying to work on these things to make things better. I might add, if there's not enough whales to do this, then it will be up to the sharks, because they know how to do it also. But you've been hunting them too, haven't you? And doing them grievous bodily harm, all for something really not very important, especially considering how populated the world is. Please stop hunting them. Stay out of the water. I know those of you on ships carrying products, you have to be in the water, I know. But try to stay out bodily of the water. All right? Now, it will take the sea beings, if they can last, if they can be there, eh? It will take them at least 50 years to accomplish this task. And it may help if you do something else. I'm going to recommend something. First ask. You know what I'm going to say. Say, I'm asking that all the most benevolent energies, angels, guides, and loving beings of spirit be all around me and all about me now, so that I may do the greatest good for the greatest number benevolently. Write these things down, and you can read them while you say them. It works best if you say them exactly the way I am saying. If you feel the energy come up, and most of you who are doing these spiritual things will, if you are not feeling the energy, wait for about 10 to 15 seconds. It's all right to glance at your watch or clock, but then look away before you say the next words. Then say, I am asking that the seas and oceans of the world become pure and wonderful homes for all the sea people, and safe for human beings to swim in, and for that to happen now in the most benevolent way for all beings. That's something you can do. It might help. It's certainly worth a try. Good life.